Hey guys, it's Bina, and in today's video, I want to go over again the imprints and the endgame crafting for double tier 7s. In my previous video, I was a little bit all over the place. You've talked to me in the comments. I can't understand. It was like, when you talk about a subject like this, which is, it can be pretty vast, you can get lost in thoughts a little bit. So I've organized it in a much better way. I've worked for 3 days working on this article on Maxroll. So this one is going to be called the Imprints and Endgame Crafting. Before starting on this article that I just released today, I want to talk about some data mine that has been happening. So there is Frozen Sentinel that released a video talking about some of the data mining that Captain Noobzor and Dominus has done, and so I just want to highlight that. So check out Frozen Sentinel, and this is like the document that Captain Noobzor put together with some data mines where he talks a little bit more about the math behind all these things and what you should or should not do. But I've put together this Maxroll page here, which is going to explain you all that you need to know without going too deep into the math. If you want the math, go and refer to that specific sheet. This one is going to be just a general guide and how to farm things, how to get your double tier 7s, how do you want to craft all of your crafting methods involved, and I'll go over this in a much more organized way. So let's first start about the imprint system. The imprint system is tied to the Weaver's tree, and it comes in two forms, right? You have your equipment imprints, which are the little red arrows here, and you have the Woven Echo imprint, which are the smaller ones over here. So if we are in game, if you open up your Weaver tree, these are the nodes that you want to go for the imprints, for your items, and then these are the ones that you want to go for your Woven Echoes. So the Woven Echoes are really good because these will enable you to like take a Woven Echo, imprint it, and not consume the Woven Echo and still spawn them on your web. So these will spawn on your web randomly as an echo is generated, and you'll be able to target farm these. Especially good for rare ones like Rune Prison Complex, for example. The other imprints here are tied to gear, and so if you want to farm certain uniques or certain, like in this example, double exalted items, then you will imprint one double exalted item to start with, and then you'll try to find more and more and more to be able to craft them into your perfect item. So this is how you interact with this Weaver tree, and you get the points for the Weaver tree by killing more and more Woven Echoes and completing more Woven Echoes, and then these add to your points. You upgrade your ranks, it gives you more points as well. So that is for this. Now let's talk about these three Woven imprint nodes specifically, which those are going to be dropping you similar items. So what are similar items? The in-game tooltip tells us that they are more likely to have the same rarity, subtype, and affixes as the imprinted item, right? And the unique can drop an increased chance of being the exact same unique, and also the LP is taken into consideration for this one. We'll go about what is taken into consideration. First, there's the base type. The base type means if you're dropping a ring, then it means that you will see more rings. So those can change into silver rings, they can change into gold rings. Even like a body armor for a mage, class specific, can change, for example, into a rogue specific body armor. So it can interchange between classes, but if you imprint a body armor, you will never see this proc as a helmet, for example, right? Next, it's the affixes. The specific affixes and their tiers influence the imprint drops. This also includes open affixes, and then sealed affixes are removed, right? So the specific affixes means that if you are imprinting double tier 7, you are much more likely to find another double tier 7 in those specific spots as well. So if you have double tier 7 prefixes, then your imprint proc will have a very high chance of dropping with double tier 7 prefixes. Open affixes are included here. According to the data mine, only one open affixes is beneficial, because if you have two open affixes on your item, then you have a 99% chance to fill those affix slots. Sealed affixes are removed, but the data mine also shows us that the sealed affixes can influence the item if it is over 30, 20 or 30 forging potential. But we're not going to talk too much about this. This is what would be for like extreme min-maxing. If you want to go into this, that's completely fine. But it's somewhat irrelevant for what we are trying to achieve here. But the sealed affix, if you want to know, can replace another affix on the item, but it is removed, and the items that drop from the imprints will not get a sealed affix on them. Forging potential is also also influences the imprint drop. So higher forging potential is recommended, as you will have more chances of dropping high forging potential, and that means that you'll have more chances of crafting your ideal item, right? A good way, Nemesises, they often drop upwards of 60 FP items, so that is a pretty good way of going about forging potential. Unique items have an increased chance to drop as the same unique you have imprinted. So let's say you want an arboreal circuit ring, then you have a pretty high chance of dropping other arboreal circuits. That doesn't mean that you cannot drop other unique rings as well. You might drop some other unique rings, but you have a much higher chance of dropping the same unique. And the LP or the legendary affixes that you have on the items, they do matter. If you have a 1 LP Kestrel, you are more likely to drop another 1 LP Kestrel. And if you have a Kestrel that is legendary with 1 affix, it acts as the same as a 1 LP Kestrel, right? So either legendary affixes or the number of LP. This is particularly useful for red rings, for example. So as you imprint red rings on your tree, on your imprint nodes, you know how when you put your red ring into the Nemesis, it very often just slams a legendary affix on it. So if you have one of those are better than having no LP at all, or not having a legendary affix. So go for those first. Next, the corruption influences the system as well. Again, this is pretty much the same thing for everything in the game. Higher corruption is more rewarding, so long as you can keep your efficient farming going. So you don't want to be dying in every echo. You don't want to slow down and spend 5 minutes in an echo that would have taken you 30 seconds in 1,000 corruption. So make sure that you are at the proper corruption level, and the higher the better. The soft cap for most corruption things is 1,000 corruption, right? So this is the place where it stops being, the diminishing returns for experience gain, which also translate to favor gain, are very, very high. So like you basically see no better result upwards of 1,000 corruption. It's very, very slim. So 1,000 is recommended, and then keep going higher so long as you're not dying and you are keeping your efficiency up. Now let's talk about the imprint nodes. Well, we've already talked about some of them. If you want to go a little bit more into details in them, the Echoing Riches, especially good at proccing with Sepulture of the Lost. This one is when you receive an Echo reward. So this means that this is the rock in the middle of the Echo of a World. The Echo of a World is the place in Monos where you come back in between echoes, right? So in between echoes, you have like a rock in the middle and a chest to the right. So this imprint here, Echoing Riches, is not counting for the chest to the right. It is the reward rock at the center of the Echo of the World. And so the best way to farm this one is with Sepulture of the Lost, since this will grab all the rewards from the surrounding echoes, put them in chests at the end, and then you can grab up to 6 reward chests that each have a chance of proccing Echoing Riches. Sealed Riches imprint activates when you open Lost Caches. So the Lost Caches are those big chests that are indicated on the minimap with an icon. It is best farmed with either Unclaimed Trove or the Vault of the Barnacle King, which is the lizard map, which have a bunch of lost caches in them. So those, if you can run them, it's a very, very reliable way, since there's a bunch of lost caches in those. Commoner's Riches, it procs when you kill enemies and you're in your regular echoes. That would means any echo that is not a woven echo or a quest echo. So this one will just keep proccing as you play the game, as you kill monsters. I've noticed that it seems to proc a little bit more on rare monsters, but this is just, observational information. Next, we have Warlord's Riches. This one is the one at the top left here. This one is a little bit less used because it activates when you kill champions, and it does not drop a similar item. This one will drop a pile of items that have a chance to have an affix sealed up to the tier of the affixes on the items. So if you have, for example, a tier 7 int, it could take that tier 7 int, seal it into a tier 7 int seal, and then drop you the rest of your item sort of random, right? So it's much harder to get very good results, but with some new crafting methods, especially with the addition of the glyph of envy in this patch, which can change a subtype to a different one of the same class, it can be a very powerful way of obtaining godly items with sealed tier 7s, but keep in mind, this one will be pretty difficult to get a good item out of, because the imprint system does not give you a similar item like the other ones. The number of affixes on this imprint specifically counts the sealed affix as an affix. So it will, if you have 4 regular affixes plus your imprint, it will drop you 5 items, so it increases your chances of getting what you want. So always try to fill in all of the affixes on these items. We're going to talk about what kind of items we put in these other ones afterwards. Woven Riches and Loom Riches. These imprints are the ones for generating woven echoes. So these are the small ones that we've talked about. So these ones you put there, and then it just proc as you discover more echoes on your timeline web. Next, we're going to talk about how to obtain your first imprint item bases. This means your first double tier 7 to imprint to be able to proc more of those to eventually craft into your proper wanted affixes double tier 7. So the first way is natural drops. So as you play the game, you will get some natural drops. All of the guides on Maxwell already include a loot filter that filters out all of the double exalteds for you. There are a couple of things that you can do to improve your natural drops, which is like investing into all of the exalted item nodes in the Weaver tree, for example. So loot lizards have a chance to drop a pile of exalted items. You can spec into loot lizard. You can drop some additional exalted items from your lost caches. All of the exalted item nodes can be beneficial to use. Afterwards, we're going to talk about the Nemesis. Nemesis is probably the most reliable way of obtaining double tier 7 items, especially very early in a season. So Nemesis upgrades affixes into exalted tiers and higher chance if you're in COF because of the rank rewards, right? So Circle of Fortune have access to some of these that would make rare and have a 25% chance to become exalted. Affixes, T7 affixes are twice as common and stuff like that. So all of the Circle of Fortune buffs are affected by this. And then the Conquer Tower is the Woven Echo that is preferred to run these, since those will be, I think it's 8 Nemesises that you just kill one after the other. And even the boss at the end drops you a whole bunch of items which have a lot of exalted items in them. So that is your best way to farm random double tier 7 exalteds. And then we'll see. Yeah, so that's the best way to farm most of your double tier 7s. Then as a last resort, prophecies can be used because the Nemesises will probably give you, maybe it gives you a body armor, a belt, a boots, but maybe you're missing a ring and you're like, okay, I really, really need a double exalted ring, a double tier 7 ring. So prophecies lets you target farm those, but it's a last resort because there's often better spent on other resources like idols, for example, which don't have a lot of good ways of farming idol except for prophecies, uniques, or other upgrades, right? But if you're still missing one, it's a good last resort way of getting your double exalts. Then if you're in Merchant Guild, of course, you can just buy them off the market. Keep in mind that if you imprint an untradeable item and then you drop it from the proc of the imprint, then that item will still remain untradeable. So make sure that if you are using your imprints to make money on the bazaar, to make some gold, then use one that is going to be tradable. Now let's talk about the imprint crafting. So in order to obtain your items reliably, you have to get a good imprint setup. And we're going to talk, there's not just one way of imprinting items to get a proper chance of getting your wanted items with your wanted affixes, but we're going to talk about a proven method that is recommended as to, you know, the community has been doing this forever. It wasn't really widespread that much, but now, especially as well with the data mine and confirming all of these findings and what we were already doing, it's just way more obvious that this was a really good method first, right? So you get your first double tier 7. It likely won't match your ideal imprint. You will start by imprinting it, and then with your future drops, you will craft your way towards your ideal imprint, and then that ideal imprint will give you access to many drops that are going to be very, very easy to craft into your perfect double tier 7 that you want. One thing to note is that you always want to keep your best imprint base stored. So in my stash, for example, I'll have a stash tab that has just the tag imprint, and then here I'll keep all of my good imprint bases to be able to craft on to be able to imprint them, I mean, and then drop some more of them. And so whenever I need another one of a helm, whether it is on this build or another build, I always have at least one double tier 7 that I know is really good for imprinting, right? So we're gonna go over the crafting process for different situation. So first situation, 2 wanted prefixes, 2 wanted suffixes, or 1 wanted prefix and 1 wanted suffix. So here is a crafting method that is recommended. These are all in written form, so you can go over the article and just read through them or just craft with them to make sure that you're not missing a step. But I'll go over it with you guys. So if you're crafting the imprint base, you want to use a Rune of Havoc until both suffixes are tier 7. So first of all, this assumes that you are dropping an item that has 4 affixes and then 2 of them are tier 7, right? So you would Rune of Havoc until you have your 2 suffixes are tier 7, and then you must create an open prefix. So you will use the Glyph of Despair to seal an unwanted prefix at tier 1, which is guaranteed because if you have the tier 1 seals on exalted items with 4 affixes are guaranteed to seal, and tier 2 is 69% chance. If you got a tier 3 or higher, use your Rune of Removal instead, because Rune of Removal is going to be a 50% chance of hitting one of those affixes, while the seal is less than 50% chance. That is why we use Rune of Removal. Now you have your imprint base, you imprint it on the Weaver tree, and then you can craft it into your final item. So let's go in game right now. Oh, I got disconnected. Let's go in game right now, and I'll be crafting on an item to show you exactly how the process is done. So, all right, let's go on this one. I open up the crafting menu. So let's take, for example, that we have this one here. Let's say that this item drops, and I want to have this one as double suffix exalted because my wanted affixes are prefixes, right? So first thing I'll do here, since I'm missing an affix, I'll fill in the extra affix, right? Because if not, I cannot actually craft to Rune of Havoc on it. So here it consumed quite a bit of forging potential. I would have made sure, right, that first of all, between each step, you take note of the forging potential. Okay, is my item better than my current... Is my item better than my current imprint? If so, then I'll imprint it right away, right? I'll re-imprint it between every step if it remains better. If it drops too low in forging potential, I don't like re-imprinting. So higher than 40 is what you kind of want, even higher than 50 or 60 if you are using like a Nemesis item. But if you got something lower than this, I would probably stick to my current imprint. So now that we have 4 affixes, we can use the first step, which is using a Rune of Havoc to make your double tier 7s on your suffixes, right? This is not guaranteed to work, but at least when you got your first double tier 7, you've imprinted it already. So you will have many more chances of getting this. So here we see that I consumed a lot. I'm down to 13 forging potential. So this is going to be a very, very bad craft. At this point, I would just YOLO it and try with any means necessary to get an actual good item out of this and not make this into my imprint, right? But for the sake of this video, I will go over and do this again. Didn't get it. So now we got it. Double tier 7 suffixes, and we have a tier 1 cast speed and tier 2 mana on the prefixes. So this is the exact situation we're talking about here. If you want to have 2 prefixes like this item, you want to start imprinting. You want to start your crafting imprint base that has 2 suffixes at tier 7, right? And then you want to have 1 open affix, so that your item that drops from the imprint has a higher chance of having the open affix as well. At tier 1, it is guaranteed. This would be, if this is the only item that you have, you could be using this one, but ideally, you want one like this with higher forging potential that retain the forging potential when you crafted it, right? And then I would imprint this one and try to craft on the subsequent items that I drop. So that is for crafting your initial item. Now, if you have something like this one here, and you want to craft into your wanted item, and you want to get your wanted affixes, right? So what you do is you already have, okay, this one is 1 prefix and 1 suffix. So say that you want to have 1 prefix and 1 suffix as tier 7. So for example, on this one, I want to have level of fireball, for example. So I want level of fireball and I want increased health. Those are the 2 affixes that I want to slam onto my unique. I will start by crafting level of fireball at tier 1. Boom. Then I will seal the unwanted affix here. Since it is tier 1, it is going to be a guarantee. If that was a tier 3, I would use a rune of removal instead, right? Boom, we got the seal. It's guaranteed. Now I'm going to want to craft increased health on this one. And then you want to use Rune of Havoc to shuffle the tiers so that these tier 7s, they drop on the affixes that you actually want. So now we got Fireball and Health. We have 12 remaining forging potential. At this point, if this is an item that I want to slam into a unique, what you want to do is you want to refine the tiers. +4 Fireball, 142 increased spell damage. That's pretty high. It's not the maximum, but it's higher than average. And then 35% increased health. That is kind of like average. I still have 12 forging potential. You could go 2 ways here. You could either risk it if you really want to refine it further, right? So you could use Rune of Refinement to get a change in the roll of the tiers. So I got a higher health roll and slightly lower spell damage, but still higher than average. So I guess I'll keep this. I have 10 forging potential. I will now use a Rune of Creation to double up on the item since I'm satisfied with these 2. Boom. Now I have 2 items that I can use to try to slam into a 2 LP Pale Ox, for example. So you have 2 chances instead of 1. So now you're doubling up on your craft. So this is the way. It is all written down here in written format. You just follow the steps and you'll have a great time crafting your double tier 7s. So to put this in a summary, you imprint the gear and your woven echoes into the weaver tree. You run the content to match the imprint that you want to trigger, right? So if you're looking to get an imprint from Troves, then you want to do from Lost Caches, then you want to do the Unclaimed Troves or the Vault of the Barnacle King. Replace the imprints with better ones as you find or craft them. So as you proc them, you try to get a better imprint. Then if you get something during a step that is really good, that didn't proc any that didn't consume too much FP, then you're going to use that one. And then you use a crafting process to achieve your desired double tier 7, like I just showed with this specific chess piece. So I think this is more it is better presented in a more digestible way, and also with the article here you can just read through it and yeah, learn about how to craft these, and also take note of like the data mine that happened with Captain Noobzor and Dominus and Frozen Sentinels video. Also check that out. You might learn a thing or two. So hope you like this kind of content, guys. Hope you get great luck with your imprints and your double tier 7 crafting, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.